While the world keeps talking about semiconductor chips and lithium batteries, there is another silent bloodstream shaping the power of modern technology: rare earth elements. And this week, the story between China and India has shaken the global market. Beijing not only asked New Delhi for a written commitment, but also made a clear declaration. China requires assurance that rare earth materials will not be re-exported to factories in America. Behind what seems like a bureaucratic demand lies an entire picture of strategic supply chains, technological dependence, and the power of natural resources in the age of clean energy. This isn't a story about conflict. It's an intricate economic chessboard where technology, trust, and national interests interweave to shape the future of global production. Stay tuned. Top 10 Discoveries Official is here to uncover how this rare earth showdown could redefine the balance of technological power worldwide. Behind every whisper-silent electric car, every wind turbine spinning across the ocean, and every advanced radar system soaring through the skies, lies the unseen force of rare earth elements, a group of materials that make up only a tiny fraction of Earth's crust, yet play a monumental role in modern industry. From neodymium and dysprosium to terbium, these elements form the soul of ultra-strong magnets, high-performance batteries, and sophisticated electronic devices. Without them, the green technological world humanity is striving toward would slow down dramatically. Through decades of systematic investment, China has built an almost unshakable dominance in this field. Today, it controls around 90% of the world's production of heavy rare earth elements and over 80% of refining capacity where the real value is created. The irony is that rare earths are not truly rare in geological reserves, but rare in refining capability. The purification process requires complex chemical procedures, massive energy consumption, and carries high environmental risks. While many countries abandon this sector due to cost or strict environmental regulations, China persisted, refining its technology and quietly seizing the global value chain. Since the late 20th century, Beijing has labeled rare earths as a strategic resource. Instead of merely extracting and exporting raw materials, China invested heavily in midstream and downstream sectors. Its rare earth industry spans the entire supply chain from mining, refining, and alloy production to magnet manufacturing and applications in electric vehicles, turbines, aerospace, medical equipment, and even satellites. This ability to control every stage of the process has made China not just a supplier, but the rule maker in the global game. As the world enters the age of renewable energy, demand for rare earths is soaring like never before. According to international estimates, the demand for neodymium magnets used in electric vehicles and wind turbines could triple by the year 2035. This shift transforms nations with refining capacity into centers of new global power. Here, rare earths are not simply minerals. They are the lifeblood connecting the industries of the future, from transportation and energy to defense. This growing dependence means that every move China makes in the rare earth sector sends ripples across the globe. A minor change in export policy, a new technical restriction, or even an added certification requirement for end users can unsettle markets from New Delhi to California. Within this context, Beijing's recent demand toward India is more than a trade issue. It is a message about technological standing and influence. China is demonstrating to the world that in the race toward clean energy, whoever controls the fundamental materials controls the heartbeat of the future economy. As global demand for green technology surges, China's request that India sign a written commitment not to re-export rare earth materials to America has become a major point of attention. This move is primarily technical and trade-related, not political. According to industry sources, China wants all shipments of heavy rare earth magnets, especially neodymium magnets containing dysprosium and terbium, to be used strictly for India's domestic industries. The requirement comes with an end-use certification, similar to the dual-use technology control mechanisms under the Wassenaar Arrangement, of which India is a member. From a technical perspective, this is a common safeguard in international trade involving strategic materials. For China, the measure ensures that its supply is not indirectly used in third-party production chains, particularly in industries tied to high technology, energy, or defense. For India, however, it creates a delicate balancing act. The country's electric vehicle sector still depends heavily on imported magnets from China. While New Delhi aims to reach a production target of 10 million electric vehicles per year, by the year 2030. In reality, several Indian companies have already submitted end-user certifications, confirming that the materials will not be re-exported. Yet the Indian government remains cautious, concerned that signing an official document could limit flexibility in future trade negotiations. The temporary delay of heavy, rare earth magnet shipments has already affected India's domestic EV production chain, especially for larger vehicles requiring high-power motors. Beneath the surface, this is purely an economic dialogue. One side seeks transparency and tighter control over the flow of strategic materials. The other needs supply stability to avoid production disruptions. Both understand that rare earths are not just commodities. They are the foundation of the technologies of the future, where even the slightest misstep in control could trigger ripple effects across the entire global supply chain. To understand why China is tightening export regulations on rare earth elements, it's essential to look at the strategic structure of the entire industry. Over the years, the country has shifted from being a resource extraction nation to a nation controlling a complete technological chain. In 2025, new policies expanded the list of controlled rare earth elements to 12, including those used in magnets, lasers, and industrial sensors. Under these rules, any product containing refined materials or technology derived from China must obtain an export license before leaving the country. This approach protects proprietary refining technology while preventing technological backflow beyond China's borders. The rare earth value chain consists of 4 major stages: mining, refining, alloy production, and high-end industrial applications. China has successfully localized all 4, while most other nations remain limited to the first stage. From an economic perspective, this tightening isn't meant to restrict trade, but to enhance control over quality and value creation. By reducing raw material exports and investing in deep processing technologies, China ensures that profits and core know-how stay within its domestic ecosystem. At the same time, local companies are being encouraged to develop rare earth recycling technologies, promoting a cleaner, low-emission, circular supply chain. What makes this move particularly significant is its timing. As many countries ramp up renewable energy projects, global demand for permanent magnet motors, wind turbines, and energy storage systems is skyrocketing. China aims to avoid mass raw material exports that would weaken its control over technological leverage. This strategy not only stabilizes China's domestic market, but also strengthens the position of Chinese enterprises within the global value chain, particularly in areas of core technology and material innovation. When the supply of heavy rare earth magnets was disrupted, India's electric vehicle manufacturers felt the impact almost immediately. Key components such as brushless motors and torque control modules rely on NdFeB magnets containing dysprosium and terbium, 2 elements that allow magnetic materials to retain their strength under high temperatures. The shortage has driven up import costs and slowed production, especially for companies targeting the electric truck and bus segments. According to data from India's energy sector, annual demand for electric vehicles is projected to reach 10 million units by the year 2030, while the country's domestic magnet manufacturing capacity currently meets less than 5% of that need. This massive gap between ambition and capability has left China holding the key. Beyond electric vehicles, rare earths are also essential in wind turbines, industrial robots, and aerospace components, all industries where India is rapidly expanding. Meanwhile, China operates a fully integrated production chain, mining in Inner Mongolia, refining in Sichuan, and alloy manufacturing in Jiangsu. The entire process takes only a few weeks, delivering high efficiency and low cost through massive industrial scale. In contrast, Indian factories depend on imported raw materials, which are often processed in third countries before being reintroduced into local assembly lines, a cycle that can stretch over several months and substantially raise costs. The ripple effects go far beyond India's borders. As its supply chain slows, manufacturers across America, Europe, and Southeast Asia also feel the strain. India has become a critical hub in the global EV magnet component network, meaning any delay triggers a domino effect across international markets. Ultimately, these disruptions could drive up end product prices, undermining global goals to reduce renewable energy costs. This rare earth crisis between the 2 Asian economies reveals a hard truth. Whoever controls the refining chain controls the world's pace of energy transition. In today's global trade landscape, rare earth elements have evolved far beyond their role as a group of industrial minerals. They've become a regulator of technological progress, influencing the speed and direction of modern innovation. China's decision to tighten export management of rare earths and related materials should not be seen as a restrictive move, but rather as a strategic and regulatory measure similar to how other nations adjust their production of oil, semiconductors, or renewable energy to maintain market stability and protect domestic industries. In fact, similar steps have already been taken with gallium and germanium, two critical metals used in semiconductors and optical devices. When China introduced a new export licensing process in 2023, global prices for these metals surged by 25 to 40% within just a few months. Yet, after the initial volatility, the market self-corrected, reaching a new equilibrium that encouraged other countries to invest in recycling and alternative extraction technologies. This outcome reveals the true intention behind such policies: not disruption, but rebalancing the global supply chain toward greater transparency and a value system that reflects genuine technological worth. With rare earths, China is following a similar path, reinforcing its position in the higher tiers of the value chain by tightening export standards. As extraction and processing costs rise, ensuring that materials are used for their intended purposes helps stabilize prices, reduce cross-border reselling risks, and preserve vital resources for domestic high-tech industries. Meanwhile, these control mechanisms also motivate importing countries to develop their own refining or recycling capabilities, a key step towards sustainable development. Another noteworthy shift lies in how China reports its export data. Instead of publishing figures by country, the information is now categorized by regional groups or product types. This approach is not about concealing information. It aims to reduce short-term trade volatility and limit speculative behavior. By improving transparency at the industry level rather than the national level, both domestic and international companies can plan production strategies based on real market demand, rather than reacting to temporary fluctuations. From a macroeconomic perspective, China's deliberate use of rare earths as a trade-regulating instrument is transforming the structure of global competition. The focus is shifting from low-cost production to technological capability, from extraction to recycling, and from raw exports to value optimization. Modern supply chains are now restructuring around sustainability, traceability, and energy efficiency standards that China is actively embedding through its rare earth policies. In the long run, this approach delivers two simultaneous outcomes: stabilizing the domestic industry and compelling other economies to invest more deeply in material technologies. This is the essence of a 21st century strategic lever not rooted in coercion, but in the ability to shape the global technological trajectory through economic policy and material science mastery. The global supply chain for high-performance magnets has evolved into a fragmented structure. Mining and refining are heavily concentrated in China, while semi-finished and finished magnet production takes place partly in India and Southeast Asia. The final assembly for electric vehicles, industrial robots, and aerospace systems mostly occurs in America and Europe. In practice, this means that many magnets labeled as Made in India or Made in Southeast Asia still contain materials or refining technology originating from China. Within this structure, China's no re-export to America condition raises two key layers of concern. The first involves origin compliance. Companies must verify the percentage of Chinese origin materials within intermediate products before shipping to America. This leads to an explosion in end-use documentation and traceability requirements, increasing both costs and supplier evaluation times. The second is disruption risk. If even one intermediary, such as a magnet factory in India, fails to meet export conditions, the flow of goods to America could temporarily halt, even when assembly capacity in America remains ready. For critical products like EV motors or drivetrain units, changing magnet suppliers isn't as simple as swapping a part. It requires recertifying materials, conducting thermal and magnetic durability tests, as well as EMC and safety validations, all of which can take several months. Trade data from 2024 shows that roughly 74% of America's imported NdFeB magnets come directly from China. This figure reflects a dependence not only on raw materials, but also on China's technological architecture for refining, alloying, and magnet pressing. As a result, any legal condition affecting shipments between China and India, and subsequently from India to third countries, can indirectly impact American and European factories, even if they don't buy directly from China. Major corporations have already begun diversifying their supply chains. Tesla and General Motors are increasing partnerships with suppliers outside of China, sourcing ores, refining, and magnets from Australia and Canada, while accelerating magnet recycling programs to recover neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium from discarded motors and hard drives. In the aerospace and defense sectors, contractors like Lockheed Martin prioritize inputs with strict end-use and origin certifications, supported by backup supply from vetted North American manufacturers and trusted industrial alliances. From a policy standpoint, America is pursuing a dual strategy, incentivizing domestic magnet production from refining to molding through investment credits and government procurement, while building a recycling ecosystem to cut reliance on virgin materials. Europe is following a similar path, implementing stringent traceability and sustainability standards. The shared objective is clear: reduce vulnerability, shorten recertification times when shifting suppliers, and maintain momentum in electric vehicle and renewable energy expansion without being bottlenecked by the world's most strategic material, high-performance magnetic metals. The next phase of the rare earth competition is no longer about who mines more, but about who controls the higher value stages of the chain: clean refining, precision alloying, high-performance magnet manufacturing, and industrial-scale recycling. The global trend is clear: stricter environmental standards, full traceability requirements, and supply stability now outweigh the old model of pure cost optimization. This shift favors ecosystems capable of integrating technology where technical standards, product lifecycle data (LCA), and independent certification work in harmony. China is entering its second phase through a strategy of core technological upgrading, improving hydrometallurgical refining efficiency, cutting emissions, expanding magnet recycling from discarded motors and hard drives, and promoting standardized end-use certification. As the share of recycled materials increases, supply chains become less sensitive to mining fluctuations, gaining both sustainability and cost advantages. Meanwhile, upstream projects in Africa and South America, if coupled with on-site deep processing technologies, could diversify reserves, yet true competitiveness will belong to ecosystems that can close the loop from mine to magnet to recycling. In America and Europe, the roadmap centers on reducing dependence, encouraging domestic refining, funding magnet pressing facilities, developing traceability standards, and accelerating circularity. Emerging thermomechanical recycling methods such as hydrogen-assisted magnet breaking and reseparation are advancing rapidly, promising to recover much of the neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium without mining new ore. Still, their current scale remains small compared to the soaring demand from EV and wind turbine industries. The challenge lies in scaling up while maintaining environmental and cost competitiveness. India, on the other hand, faces a strategic window to build its medium-term foundation, creating national standards for green refining, linking academic and industrial research to localized magnetic alloy and powder production, and signing long-term resource partnerships. If India can integrate mining, standardize refining, magnet manufacturing, and recycling within one industrial cluster, it could become a regional hub, cutting logistics delays and recertification costs for its EV sector. Alternative technologies such as induction motors and reluctance motors continue to improve, but they still cannot match rare earth magnets in power-to-weight ratio or efficiency across wide temperature ranges. Thus, the new material race is not only about elements themselves, but about how the world reorganizes the value chain around material intelligence and operational standards. The real question now is, as rare earths evolve into a form of technological infrastructure, who will define the global standards of cleanliness, transparency, and performance, and who will move fast enough to turn those standards into lasting competitive advantage? The story between China and India is more than a single trade event. It is a symbol of the material age, where technological strength is no longer defined by the number of products made, but by the ability to control origin, purity, and knowledge of creation. While the world's attention is fixed on batteries, chips, and solar energy, rare earths quietly pulse at the heart of them all. The growing web of commitments, traceability, And certification is not a barrier, it is proof of a maturing global industry, one that now values sustainability, transparency, and technological independence over a simple race for speed. From here, rare earths cease to be the story of one nation. They become a measure of how the world collaborates, how it divides roles, shares value, and balances responsibility in the global innovation chain. A silent restructuring is underway. Every export decision, every trade agreement, has the power to shift the direction of global energy and technology transformation. So the question is, in this new race of the material century, what will define the true strength of a nation, its natural reserves, its refining technology, or its capacity to cooperate for a more sustainable global value chain? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated on the latest insights into technology, national strategies, and innovations shaping the future. Top 10 Discoveries Official will return with untold stories, groundbreaking projects, and quiet revolutions reshaping our world. See you in the next video.